will both be examined by your attorney and cross-examined by one of the prosecutors. Do you understand that? All right. And do either of you need any more time to talk with your lawyers about your decision whether to testify?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Kendrick, do you personally want to testify or not?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Stillwell, do you personally want to testify or not? All right. I find that each of these defendants has made a decision whether or not to testify with an understanding of his rights. All right. All right, we need to do anything else before we get the jury out, and I'll ask if you rest. And then have y'all made a decision about whether y'all going to present evidence? Okay, you want to let me know, or you want to be dramatic about it? Okay. All right. All right, then I'll get them out. We'll close the evidence. I'll let them go for today and tomorrow, have them come back on Thursday. And tomorrow, I mean, we can start the charge conference. And, oh, forgot something. There'll probably be a motion, I suspect. Okay. All right. Forgot about that. Okay. So I guess technically you need to rest before that motion. So I'm going to have to bring them in, then excuse them again. Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I understand that we're trying to keep things moving. I'm going to ask if Your Honor would consider giving us the afternoon and evening to look at the directed verdict motion. I know that you've suggested we need to be doing that, but there's only 24 hours in a day, and I think it would probably be more fruitful if all of us had an opportunity to review kind of what's come in, and so we can sit down and have an educated discussion.
Sure, that's fine.
Right,
So tomorrow we'll gather together. You'll present whatever motions you have.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Whatever response there is, I'll have to consider all of that. But I would also like to do the rest of the charge conference, the RICO part of the charge conference.
Can we have a further discussion with that once we excuse it?
Yep, sure. Okay. What are you, do you need?
I was just thinking procedurally, what happens? We rest, then we have to, do we bring them?
We rest. I let them go for the day. All right, Ms. Hilton, does the state have any further evidence?
No, Your Honor, the state of Georgia rests.
All right, thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, considering the hour, I think that I'm going to let y'all go for the day. And then actually tomorrow, we will all have matters to take up outside of your presence. That's been kind of a common theme in this trial, and it happens in every trial, I promise. So y'all will have the day off tomorrow, and we'll see you back Thursday at 9 a.m. And just let me remind you, all of the instructions that have been applicable to you for the entirety of this trial remain applicable right now. Don't try to find out any kind of information about this case from any source outside the confines of this courtroom. Don't talk to anybody about this case. Don't let anybody talk to you about this case or anybody involved in it. Don't try to do any research about the case. Don't ask anybody hypothetical questions about the case. And we'll see y'all on Thursday. Thank you. Okay, so what else did we want to discuss?
When we were, Your Honor, when we were talking about the RICO jury instructions, I guess what I'm trying to figure out, I understand that we have certain jury instructions, preliminary, we both submitted preliminary jury instructions.
Yeah.
And I know that we have certain ones on that document that we're all sharing. I'm just trying to make sure, are there any other proposed instructions from the state that I need to be aware of to prepare for argument? Because I don't want it to be sprung at the last
question.
minute.
I mean, I haven't gotten any. Are there going to be any more forthcoming? I've been trying to put some together from various things that I've culled from different RICO cases, and that was pretty rough when I sent it to y'all yesterday. I've worked on it a little bit more today, so I'll send y'all an updated draft, which, Ms. Persfield, let me send that to you right now. So what this is now, it will look somewhat familiar, but it's in a little bit more polished form. So the first 4 pages are what I've put together, and then the last page and a half probably is lifted, some of the language lifted from the APS, RICO, not APS Atlanta Police, APS Atlanta Public Schools cheating trial. I have looked at some other trials too and tried to pull some language from that, but if there's something else, I haven't gotten it yet. Mr. Floyd, are you going to be providing us with any suggested jury instructions on RICO and or a possible verdict form with regard to RICO, which would be really nice?
Those are separate but related questions, Your Honor. So to answer the first one, we haven't sent anybody any additional ones. We've looked at yours. They've been kind of evolving. But I don't have very much complaint about them. They're largely drawn from APS, and I wrote those, so I'm not it's only just a matter of whether there's anything in between.
Those aren't actually drawn from APS. I didn't look at the APS stuff until this afternoon, but okay, you can take credit for it.
Well, okay. I thought that's what you said. And I'll tell you that they are, if they're not drawn from APS, they're drawn from cases that used a version of the APS charges.
Okay.
There might be an intermediate generation, but they.
Anyway, I hear you saying you think they're pretty good.
You heard me say I think they're pretty good.
Okay.
And I mean, I can't at this stage, because we're just starting this process.
Sure.
I can't foreclose that depending on what you decide to do with one charge, we might suggest that another needs to be supplemented or we add something.
Sure.
But I think.
You don't have any whole scale additions that you think need.
No.
We'll just hash through it. Okay.
I do not, and I think there's one issue that has to be resolved, I mean, I only have 2 charges submitted by Mr. Kendrick.
Yeah.
I don't have any charges submitted by Mr. Stillwell. I'm RICO.
They're working together on it.
We're working together.
Okay, that's what, I'm just making sure I'm accounting for everybody here. I understood they were from the defense. They had the name Kendrick on them, so that's why I made that specification.
Thank you.
But I'm gonna surprise you. We disagree with them. I'll explain why. One is a short explanation. One is a longer explanation. You have statute of limitations. And then
Oh, yeah, I already told him he's totally wrong on half of that.
Okay,
You missed that part. but-
Okay.
Blunt, Your Honor, it's fine.
All right. It's the opposite. The rule is the opposite of that.
All right, well, we'll get into the nitty-gritty tomorrow, if that's okay with everybody.
Sure. And the other one, which is how you instruct the jury about overt acts and what conclusions they need to reach, that feeds into the jury form. And I've done a good bit of research and I have some things to say about that.
Well, if you have anything for me to consider sort of in the interim, because you probably are not going to be, I mean, you might be working on the directed verdict motion and response, but if you're not, and if you have something that I could be considering in the interim, go ahead and send it to Ms. Persifield.
Will do.
Because, yeah, I mean, it's a lot more straightforward when you're alleging RICO and not a RICO conspiracy. And so I definitely want to get right what it is that the jury has to find.
Understood. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I can tell you that what the state submitted is based significantly on APS, which was also a RICO conspiracy case.
Mm-hmm.
It is also based significantly on the jury charges that were submitted in a federal Georgia RICO case based on sex trafficking this year.
Okay.
And also on a case that was tried last year in Brunswick that was a Georgia RICO conspiracy.
All right.
So it's sort of the evolution of that. And I'll address what you want me to address, however you want me to do.
Okay.